the point is that the big crisis is that because we are passing from a very precise order, Bretton Woods system, let's say, to something that we don't know yet, and it's very fuzzy. And my major concern is that, for instance, with all the respect for China, but to have China not being a democratic country in the center of the world market, the world system, is a very big danger. Not because the Chinese elites are bad, but because not being a democracy, China has problems in building a balanced development. So, for instance, the lack of welfare state might jeopardize the capitalization of the masses. Moreover, this authoritarian regime needs build an export-led model, which depends upon exports. Internal growth is much less. It's not easy to change such a model. China now should reevaluate its currency. But how can you tell China to do that? So there is no one in the world bigger than China. Being able to kindly tell China, hey, now it's time to, you became a little bit richer, then you have to reevaluate your currency, because if not, the monetary competitiveness that you produce will be very unfair, and it will destabilize all the international trade system. But if the Chinese don't want to do that because they want to keep this type of unfair competitiveness, who in the world is able to tell them, hey, no, you have to do that? Not because we like you, but if you don't do that, we will go south. Yes, Ms. Kennedy.
Do you think the other G20 powers will force China to change its monetary?
Well, I hope so. I hope that inside the G20 body, there will be a majority of countries not forcing China, but defining new rules of global equilibrium. After all, the G20 has been just recently transformed into a permanent body of global governance. So I assume that there will be rules, and those rules are rules of balance, because when you have a market, the first thing that we have to do is to keep it in equilibrium. Yes, in theory, but in practice, I don't see anyone doing this. What I see, and I do hope to be wrong, is just the formation of a G2, Sino-American G2, and with the question, well, we have interest in having China growing. They wanted to keep this model for the next 20 years. Fine, let's make an agreement. But let's agree. So let's define a convergence. So we know we can build an overall financial product that can provide this system with more stability. Technically, it's not so difficult. The point is that it's not happening, because the international relations are based on power. If I think that I have more power than you, and you can't deter me, then I will try to maximize my advantage. So I am a Chinese elite. I say, okay, but who cares? So I feel unhappy to have at the center of the world a new power, which is a not democratic one. So I'm nothing against the Chinese, but democracy is a requirement for development, not necessarily in the first stage of development. But in order to stabilize, to consolidate development, you need the democracy.
Is there any hope for China to become a democracy or more democratic in the future? Would it have to come from a growing middle class demanding democracy?
Well, yeah, according to the historical experience, we might assume that the formation of a middle class in China should lead to the demand of more freedom. But we have no enough experience to make a guess. Because it's not happening. No, the middle class is not asking for more freedom. Or we don't know, because if they ask, then they are put in concentration camps. So what we see is China keeping the social cohesion through by increasing its nationalism. There are those rituals of internal cohesion by maximizing the language of nationalism, which is not a very healthy message. Moreover, the market is happy in a democracy, because when there is a struggle of power in the top of the system, then you have elections. You might elect strange guys, as recently happened, let me not mention where. But it's not a civil war, so you don't need to have a civil war in order to have a change in power. But if you do that in China, and so how these guys are going to change power? Through cooptation in the Communist Party? Yes, it can work one day, but the day after you find a young, ambitious person who wanted to take over and using violent methods. There will be a reaction. Then there is no democratic process trying to channel this thing. It will be civil war. And can we risk a civil war in a country 1,300,000,000 people, which is at the center of all the processes of the global market? I would not take such a risk. I don't know if you are going to, but I'm not.